The massive alien warship hung in the darkness of space like a metal predator. Its name was Starcleaver, and it had destroyed more worlds than anyone could count. The ship was enormous, covered in weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Inside the ship, Admiral Vexmore stood on his command bridge, looking down at Earth through the large viewing window. Admiral Vexmore was not human. He had 4 glowing eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth that clicked together when he was pleased. Right now, he was very pleased. Earth looked so small and helpless below him, spinning slowly in the black void of space. "What do you see down there?" he asked his tactical officer, a smaller alien who worked at a computer covered in blinking lights. The tactical officer studied his screens carefully. "It is a primitive world, sir. The humans have only a few space stations. Their rockets are old and slow. They are like children playing with toys." Admiral Vexmore made a clicking sound with his teeth. This was how his species laughed. "Perfect. We will follow the standard plan. 1 warning shot should be enough to make them surrender." The Admiral walked to his command chair, a throne-like seat in the center of the bridge. Around him, dozens of alien crew members worked at their stations. They had done this many times before with other planets. First came the warning shot, then came the surrender, then came the conquest. "Fire 1 plasma torpedo at their space station," Admiral Dexmore ordered. A weapon officer pressed buttons on his control panel. Deep in the belly of Starcleaver, a torpedo launcher came to life. The plasma torpedo was a ball of pure energy, hot enough to melt steel in seconds. It shot out from the ship like a burning star. The torpedo flew through space in a straight line. It took only minutes to reach its target, the International Space Station orbiting Earth. The space station was small and peaceful, with solar panels that caught the light of the sun. Inside were 6 humans working on scientific experiments. Commander Kim Jae-ho was the leader of the station. He was checking systems in the main control room when the torpedo hit. Dr. Park Sora was in the laboratory, studying plant samples. Engineer Lee Dong-woo was fixing a broken air filter. Scientist Choi Mina was recording data about Earth's weather. Pilot Han Soo-jin was preparing for a supply mission. Mission Specialist Yoon Taemin was exercising in the small gym. The plasma torpedo struck the space station like lightning strikes a tree. The entire structure disappeared in a flash of white light. All 6 humans died instantly. There was no time for fear, no time for pain. One moment they were alive, working and dreaming. The next moment they were gone. Admiral Vexmore watched the explosion through his viewing window. The light was beautiful, like a small sun blooming and dying in seconds. "Excellent shot," he said. "Now we wait for them to contact us. They will beg for mercy soon." But hours passed, and no messages came from Earth. Usually, after a demonstration like this, the primitive species would flood the space channels with desperate calls. They would offer anything: gold, resources, slaves. If only the Great Empire would spare their world. Earth remained completely silent. "Sir," said the communications officer nervously, "we are not receiving any surrender signals from the planet." Admiral Vexmore frowned. His 4 eyes glowed brighter with annoyance. "Perhaps they did not understand our message. Some species are slower than others." A full day passed. Still no word from Earth. The Admiral began to pace back and forth on his bridge. This had never happened before. Every species, no matter how brave or stupid, had surrendered after seeing their space station destroyed. "Maybe they are too afraid to speak," suggested the tactical officer. "Or maybe they are too stupid to understand what happened," said another crew member. Admiral Vexmore's teeth clicked together rapidly. This was a sign that he was becoming angry. "No matter. Signaled the entire fleet. All 10,000 ships will advance toward their world. When they see our full power, they will have no choice but to surrender." The order went out across space to the massive Vorthok war fleet. 10,000 ships began to move toward Earth like a swarm of metal locusts. Each ship was armed with enough weapons to level a city. Together, they could turn entire planets to ash. Far below, on Earth's surface. Deep underground, beneath the city of Seoul, General Kong Du-hyan sat in a secret military bunker. The bunker was buried 3 kilometers down, protected by thick walls of steel and concrete. General Kang was an old soldier with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been waiting for this day for most of his life. Next to him stood Dr. Shin Hai-won, a brilliant scientist who looked much younger than her 50 years. She was staring at multiple computer screens showing the alien fleet's movement. Dr. Shin, General Kong said quietly, "Is Project Thunderstorm ready to begin?" Dr. Shin nodded slowly. "We have been preparing for 47 years, General. Ever since our radio telescopes first detected their transmissions from deep space. Every weapon has been tested. Every calculation has been checked 1,000 times. General." Kong reached toward a red button on his control panel. His hand hesitated for just a moment. Once he pressed this button, there would be no going back. But those 6 people on the space station had been good people. They had families, dreams, hopes for the future. And the aliens had killed them just to send a message. "Ladies and gentlemen," General Kang spoke into his communication device, "the enemy has just murdered 6 of our people to make a point. Now it is time for us to make our point. Begin protocol, Thunderstorm." He pressed the red button. Dr. Shin Hai-won moved her hands quickly across the glowing computer screens that floated in the air around her. The underground control room was filled with lights and the soft hum of powerful machines. 3 weeks had passed since the aliens destroyed the space station, killing 6 innocent people. The alien ships were still moving toward Earth, but they were taking their time. They thought they were so powerful that they did not need to hurry. The aliens had no idea what was waiting for them. "Major Park, get me a report from the moon." Dr. Shin called out to a young officer, sitting at a communication desk nearby. Major Park. Insu pressed buttons on his control panel and spoke into his headset. "Luna Base, this is Earth Command. Please, give us your status." A woman's voice came through the speakers clearly. "This is Commander Kim Nari, at Moonbase. All 17 mass drivers are working perfectly. We have loaded every launcher with tungsten projectiles. Each projectile weighs as much as a small car and can fly faster than anything you can imagine. We are ready to fire on your command." Dr. Shin smiled and moved to another floating screen. The mass drivers on the moon were like giant cannons, but instead of using gunpowder, they used magnetic fields to shoot metal rods through space at incredible speeds. When these rods hit something, they would hit with the force of nuclear bombs. "Asteroid, Belt Mining Station, report your status," she said into her microphone. Static crackled for a moment before a man's voice came through. "This is Chief Engineer Lee Hyun-woo, out here in the asteroid belt. We have been very busy these past few weeks. All of our mining explosives have been changed into kinetic weapons. We have calculated the flight path for every asteroid bigger than a house. When you give the word, we can turn this entire asteroid belt into the biggest shotgun blast in history." Chief Engineer Lee was floating in zero gravity inside a small space station surrounded by thousands of floating rocks. But these rocks were not ordinary asteroids anymore. Each one had been fitted with small rocket engines and guidance systems. The mining explosives that were normally used to break apart asteroids for valuable metals had been repurposed as weapons. Soon, every piece of space rock would become a bullet flying toward the enemy fleet. General Kong Du-hyan stood behind Dr. Shin, watching all the preparations with calm satisfaction. He was an old man who had dedicated his entire life to this moment. 47 years ago, when he was just a young military officer, Earth's radio telescopes had detected strange signals from deep space. The signals were clearly from an intelligent alien civilization, but they were not friendly messages of peace. They were military communications discussing which planets to attack next. A small group of far-thinking leaders had realized that Earth needed to prepare for the worst. They had convinced governments around the world to start a secret project that would take decades to complete. They did not just build weapons, they turned the entire solar system into one giant fortress. Dr. Shin, General Kang said quietly, "What is the status of the stellar engineering project?" Dr. Shin's eyes lit up with excitement, though she tried to keep her voice calm. Dr. Cho Minho reports that all systems are green, General. The magnetic field manipulators we placed around the sun are responding perfectly. We can now control solar flares with precision. When we activate the system, we can make the sun itself shoot a beam of energy at the enemy fleet. This was perhaps the most amazing part of humanity's defense plan. Over the past 30 years, robotic ships had placed special machines in orbit around the sun. These machines could create powerful magnetic fields that would cause the sun to release massive bursts of energy in any direction they wanted. It was like turning their own star into the ultimate weapon. General Kong nodded approvingly. And Professor Lim's quantum bombs. Professor Lim Jae-sung and his team have been working around the clock, Dr. Shin replied. They have positioned quantum entanglement bombs throughout the outer solar system. Each bomb is connected to a trigger device here on Earth through quantum physics. No matter how far away the bombs are, when we press the button here, they will all explode at exactly the same time. The enemy ships will not even see them coming because the bombs will explode inside their own hulls. The quantum entanglement bombs were based on some of the strangest discoveries in modern physics. By linking particles together through quantum mechanics, the bombs could be triggered instantly across any distance. The alien ships might have powerful shields to protect them from outside attacks, but these bombs would explode from within. The giant screens around the control room. They could see the alien fleet continuing its slow approach toward Earth. There were 10,000 ships, moving in perfect formation. Each ship was larger than a city and covered with enough weapons to destroy entire countries. The ship's energy shields glowed with confidence. The aliens clearly believed that nothing could stop them. They had no idea that humanity had spent nearly 50 years turning the laws of physics into weapons of war. General, Dr. Shin said, checking her calculations one more time. The alien fleet will reach Mars orbit in 18 hours. General Kong's face remained serious as stone. Then in 18 hours, these aliens will learn a very important lesson about what happens when you murder innocent humans. The countdown to humanity's revenge had begun. Admiral Vexmore stood tall, on the command bridge of his mighty warship Starcleaver. Through the large viewing window, he could see the small blue planet Earth growing bigger as his fleet moved closer. Around him, 10,000 alien warships flew in perfect lines across the darkness of space. Each ship was huge and powerful, covered with weapons that had destroyed many worlds before this one. The Admiral felt very pleased with himself. His 4 glowing eyes reflected the light from his ship's control panels as he watched Earth spin slowly below. This would be another easy victory for the great Vorthok Empire. Admiral, sir, called out his sensor operator from across the bridge. We are detecting some strange energy readings throughout this solar system. The humans appear to be doing something with their star. Admiral Dexmore made his clicking laugh sound. His sharp teeth gleamed in the bridge lights. These primitive creatures think they can frighten us with their simple tricks. Their star is just an ordinary yellow sun. What could such backward beings possibly do with it? The Admiral was completely wrong, but he did not know it. Hidden throughout the solar system, humanity had been building a secret network of powerful machines for almost 50 years. Colonel Kim Jun-ho and his team of engineers had spent their entire careers hiding magnetic field generators inside old mining stations, research facilities, and even inside comets flying through space. Each machine was a small piece of humanity's greatest weapon, a way to control their own sun. On Earth's moon, Commander Kim Nari was inside the main control room of Luna Base. Around her, computer screens showed the positions of all the alien ships approaching Earth. She was making final checks on 17 massive weapons, called mass drivers. These were not the simple railguns that people wrote about in science fiction stories. These were perfectly designed kinetic weapons that could shoot heavy metal rods at speeds close to the speed of light. Target acquisition is complete, Commander Kim reported to Earth through her radio. All 17 mass drivers have locked onto their priority targets. We are ready to fire on your command. Each mass driver was like a giant magnetic cannon, built into the surface of the moon. The projectiles they would fire were made of tungsten, one of the hardest metals known to humans. Each projectile weighed as much as a truck and would hit the enemy ships with more force than nuclear bombs. Far away in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Chief Engineer Lee Hyanwoo floated inside his small space station control room. Through his sensors, he could see alien scout ships moving through the outer edges of the asteroid field. The aliens were mapping the positions of the floating rocks, thinking of them only as obstacles they would need to avoid. The aliens had no idea what the humans had really done to those asteroids. All mining charges have been converted and are ready, Chief Engineer Lee transmitted to Earth Command. Every rock bigger than a car has been turned into a guided missile. We can fire the entire asteroid belt at them like the world's largest shotgun. Over the past 30 years, human engineers had attached small rocket engines and computer guidance systems to thousands of asteroids. The explosive charges that miners normally use to break apart rocks for valuable metals had been repurposed as weapons. When the time came, every piece of space rock would become a bullet flying toward the enemy fleet at tremendous speed. But the most amazing part of humanity's defense was completely invisible to the alien sensors. Deep beneath Mount Fuji in Japan, Dr. Cho Minho worked in a secret underground facility that had taken 40 years to build. His stellar engineering project was the crown jewel of human technology, a way to make the sun itself into a weapon. Stellar destabilization chambers are fully primed and ready, Dr. Cho reported to General Kang through his secure communication system. We can generate a controlled solar flare aimed directly at the enemy fleet. The energy blast will destroy their shields and burn out every electronic system on their ships. The magnetic field manipulators hidden around the solar system could work together to create artificial solar flares, massive bursts of energy from the sun that could be aimed like a giant laser beam. No alien technology could withstand the direct fury of a star. General Kang Do-hyun watched his tactical display screen as red dots, representing enemy ships, crossed into the orbit of Mars. The aliens were flying directly into humanity's carefully prepared trap. They thought they were safe because their technology was more advanced than Earth's, but they had no idea what humans could accomplish when they had decades to prepare. All stations, this is Earth Command. General Kang spoke calmly into his communication device. The enemy has reached the activation point. Prepare for simultaneous strike on all targets. Remember what we are fighting for. They killed 6 innocent people just to send us a message. Now we are going to send them a message they will never forget. General Kang's finger moved slowly toward the red activation button on his control panel. 47 years of secret preparation, thousands of brilliant scientists and engineers, and the combined resources of the entire human race had led to this single moment. Execute Thunderstorm Protocol, he said quietly. Show these aliens what humanity is truly capable of when we fight back. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The destruction began all at once. Everywhere in space, Professor Lim Jae-sing sat in his underground laboratory on Earth and pressed a single red button. The moment his finger touched the button, something impossible happened across the entire solar system. Inside hundreds of alien warships, bombs suddenly exploded. But these were not ordinary bombs that had been fired from Earth. These bombs had been floating in empty space for months. invisible to alien sensors. The bombs used quantum physics, one of the strangest discoveries in human science. Each bomb was connected to Professor Lim's button through invisible quantum links. When he pressed the button on Earth, all the bombs exploded at exactly the same moment, no matter how far away they were. The alien ships had powerful shields that could stop any attack from outside, but these explosions came from inside their own ships. Admiral Dexmore was standing on the bridge of his flagship, Starcleaver, when the first explosion shook his ship. The lights flickered and sparks flew from control panels. Then came another explosion, and another. His mighty warship was being torn apart from the inside. "This is impossible." Admiral Dexmore screamed at his crew. His 4 eyes blazed with anger and confusion. How are these primitive humans attacking us from inside our own shields? Our technology is thousands of years more advanced than theirs. But none of his officers could give him an answer, because they did not understand quantum physics the way humans did. Before the Admiral could think of what to do next, a new attack began from Earth's moon. Commander Kim Nari spoke calmly into her radio Luna base, beginning firing sequence. All mass drivers launching now. 17 giant magnetic cannons built into the moon's surface fired at the same time. Each cannon shot a rod of tungsten metal that weighed as much as a small building. The magnetic fields accelerated these rods to incredible speeds, so fast they became like bullets made of lightning. The tungsten rods streaked across space like the weapons of angry gods. Each one carried as much destructive power as a nuclear bomb, but they were just pieces of metal moving very, very fast. When they hit the alien ships, they punched through the holes like needles through paper. Ship after ship exploded as the tungsten spears found their targets. At the same time, Chief Engineer Lee Hyanwoo activated his secret weapon in the asteroid belt. For 30 years, human engineers had been attaching rocket engines and guidance computers to thousands of floating rocks. Mining explosives that were normally used to break apart asteroids had been converted into warheads. Asteroid belt firing sequence activated. Chief Engineer Lee reported to Earth. Every rock is now a guided missile. Throughout the asteroid belt, shaped charges exploded and sent massive chunks of rock flying toward the alien fleet. What had looked like harmless space debris suddenly became a coordinated attack of planet-killing projectiles. Asteroids the size of mountains slammed into alien warships at tremendous speed, crushing them like tin cans. But the most devastating attack was still coming. Deep beneath Mount Fuji in Japan, Dr. Cho Minho worked at a control panel that was connected to machines hidden all around the sun for 40 years. Humans had been building a network of magnetic field generators that could control solar flares. Stellar destabilization sequence complete, Dr. Cho announced calmly, even though he was about to do something that had never been done before in the history of the galaxy. Directed solar flare launching now. The sun itself became humanity's ultimate weapon. The magnetic field generators created an artificial solar flare, a massive burst of energy and radiation that erupted from the surface of the star. But this was not a random solar flare. This one was aimed directly at the alien fleet like a giant laser beam made of starfire. The directed solar flare raced across space at the speed of light. When it reached the alien ships, it stripped away their energy shields like a hurricane tearing paper. The intense radiation fried every electronic system on the ships. Computers crashed, weapons stopped working, and life support systems failed. Admiral Dexmore watched in horror as his great fleet died around him. Ships that had conquered entire civilizations were being torn apart by flying rocks. Vessels that had never lost a battle were being pierced by metal rods moving faster than anything in the universe. The pride of the Vorthok Empire burned and exploded in the light of the solar flare. "Sir, we must retreat," his tactical officer screamed over the sound of alarms and explosions. Admiral Dexmore looked at his tactical display and saw the truth. Of his 10,000 ships, only a few dozen were still working. and those were dying. Quickly, retreat with what ships? He asked quietly. Through his damaged communication system, a human voice reached him. The voice was calm, and spoke perfect Vorthok language. Admiral Vexmore. This is General Kong Duhian, of Earth Defense Command. You fired one shot and killed 6 humans. We have now killed 2.3 million of your people. This is what we call proportional response. The human voice continued, as the last alien ships exploded around the Admiral. We suggest you tell your empire, and every other species in the galaxy, humanity does not want war. But if you bring war to us, we will end it completely. We are not victims. We are the ones who end wars. Admiral Vexmore's ship finally died around him. As the life support systems failed and the lights went dark, his last thought was of the impossible truth. A species that had barely reached space had just destroyed the greatest fleet in galactic history using their own star as a weapon. The battle lasted 4 hours. Every single alien ship was destroyed. None escaped. 3 months had passed since the Battle of Sol, and the story of what happened was now spreading to every corner of the galaxy. The recordings of the battle traveled through space, on radio waves and quantum communication networks, reaching alien worlds that were millions of light years away from Earth. The footage was impossible for anyone to ignore or forget. It showed a species that had only recently learned to travel between planets in their own solar system. Yet somehow, these humans had turned their entire solar system into one massive coordinated weapon. They had made their own star obey their commands like a trained animal. Most shocking of all, they had killed 2.3 million members of the mighty Vorthok Empire to pay back the deaths of just 6 humans. In the great council chambers of the Zephyrian Alliance, Ambassador Veltar stood before hundreds of alien representatives from across the galaxy. Her blue skin was covered with scales that changed color based on her emotions, and right now they were showing deep concern. She had just finished playing the battle recordings for the 3rd time. The humans have a term for what they did, Ambassador, Veltar explained to the gathered aliens. They call it proportional response. 6 of their people died, so they killed 2.3 million of the enemy. They want us to remember this ratio very carefully. The room fell silent as the alien representatives thought about what they had just seen. Many of them had been part of civilizations that had conquered other worlds. They had always believed that primitive species should be easy to defeat. The humans had just proven them completely wrong. Within days of the recordings reaching major alien governments, new policies were announced across the galaxy. The hegemony of worlds, which controlled thousands of star systems, issued emergency orders to all their fleets. Human space was to be avoided at all costs. Ships were ordered to change course if they came within 100 light-years of Earth. The Confederation of Star Systems went even further. They officially classified Earth as a stellar hazard zone, the same category they used for black holes and exploding stars. Any ship captain who entered the Sol system without special permission would lose their license permanently. Most surprising of all was the reaction of the Ravager clans. These were the most violent and aggressive warriors in the known galaxy. They had never retreated from any enemy, no matter how powerful. They lived only for battle and conquest. But even the Ravager clans quietly removed Sol from all their target lists. Their war chiefs decided that some battles were not worth fighting. Back on Earth, Dr. Shin Hai-wan stood in her laboratory beneath Sol, monitoring communication signals from deep space. Banks of computers translated alien languages and analyzed the meaning of thousands of messages flying between distant worlds. The galaxy was talking about humanity now, but not in the way they had talked about them before. General Kang, Dr. Shin called across the room to where the old military commander was studying tactical reports. We are detecting a huge increase in diplomatic communications. 17 different alien species have sent official requests for non-aggression treaties in just the past week. General Kong Duhian looked up from his papers and nodded slowly. His gray hair and lined face showed the weight of the decision he had made 3 months ago. What about the Vorthok Empire? How have they responded to losing their entire invasion fleet? The Vorthok response has been complete withdrawal from this entire arm of the galaxy, Dr. Shin replied, reading from her computer screens. They have issued orders to their entire military. Any ship that approaches within 50 light-years of Earth will face court-martial for endangering the Empire. They are treating us like a disease they do not want to catch. Dr. Shin allowed herself a small smile. I think it is safe to say that our message was received loud and clear. That evening, General Kang stood on the balcony of his apartment high above the city of Seoul. The lights of the city spread out below him like a carpet of stars, but his eyes were focused on the real stars in the dark sky above. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were learning a new lesson about what humans were capable of when threatened. The aliens had expected to find easy victims on the small blue planet called Earth. Instead, they had discovered the species that could turn stars themselves into weapons of war. They had learned that humans did not just defend themselves. They ended threats permanently. His phone made a soft buzzing sound. General Kong looked at the screen and saw a message from Dr. Cho Minho, the scientist who had built the stellar engineering system. Sir, all solar manipulation systems remain online and ready. If any other species wants to test our resolve, we are prepared to teach them the same lesson we taught the Vorthok. General Kang typed back his reply. Let us hope that the other aliens are smarter than the Vorthok were, but if they are not smart enough to leave us alone, we will be ready to educate them as well. He put his phone back in his pocket and continued looking up at the stars. Earth had earned its place in the galaxy, not by conquering other worlds, but by proving beyond any doubt that threatening humanity would result in consequences beyond imagination. The galaxy had learned an important truth. Humanity did not just fight back when attacked. Humanity ended wars completely and permanently. And now, every alien species in the galaxy knew that Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a world to be respected and feared. The humans had sent their message to the stars, and the stars had listened.